Okay, it's 5 o'clock. I will start the meeting. I welcome you all to the Ordinary Council meeting of Monday, the 16th of December 2024. I'll start with recording and publishing. In accordance with the Local Government Act of 1993, Cowra Council is recording this meeting and will upload the recording to Council's website. By speaking at this meeting, you agree to being recorded and having that recording published in the public domain. Please ensure that when you speak at council meetings, you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'll take apologies and applications for leave. I see all councillors are here. Paul Devery would be an apology. Would someone like to move that? Apologies be accepted. Thank you, Councillor Watt. Seconded by Councillor Kiss. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Disclosures of interest. Councillors and staff, please indicate in relation to any interest you need to declare. A, what report or item you are declaring an interest in. B, whether the interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary. And C, what is the nature of the interest? Councillor Downing.
I'm just going to declare an interest in item 6.4, the donation request from the SAK Student Exchange Committee. Rotary is heavily involved, and as a Rotarian, I will leave the room when the decision is made.
Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two declarations. One is 4.3. It's a disclosure of interest for the Honour Roll, the Order of Australia, the policy review. Minor non-pecuniary interest as I hold an Order of Australia title. I will remain in the chamber for that one. Next one is 6.1, the 355 Youth Council appointment of 2025 Youth Council members. It's minor non-pecuniary. I ordinarily stay in the chamber for Youth Council, but as this is appointing the Youth Council members and my son is a nominee, I will leave the chamber.
Thank you. Any others? Yes, Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Declaring a non-pecuniary interest in 4.6, the housing strategy, as a family member of mine has made a submission included in the policy. However, as it is minor, I will stay in the chamber.
Thank you. Okay. 1.5 is presentations. We'll now have the opportunity for our newly elected Councillor Cave to take the oath. So.
Yep, you need to. Right. So what we will do, I will read a line and then Councillor Cave will repeat it after me. I, Karen Cave, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office.
I, Karen Cave, will swear that I will undertake the duties of the office
of councillor in the best interests of the people
in the best interests of the people
of Cowra Shire
and
the Cowra Council,
and
that I will faithfully
and impartially
carry out the functions, powers, authority and discretion vested in me under the Local Government Act
under the Local Government Act
1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Karen.
Thank you.
Would anybody like to take any photos of Karen sitting at the table now? You're welcome to come into the middle and, yeah. Thank you. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to 1.52, which was the Cowra Tourist Corporation. We're going to do a presentation for us tonight. Kurt Oversett can't be with us tonight, so we're going to postpone that to the new year. So, so that stays as it is. Do we need a motion? We do need a motion. Would someone like to move that? Thank you, Councillor Watt. And who was the second? Sorry. Councillor Fagan. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Watt? Councillor Fagan? Anybody else? Okay, I'll put the write a reply. If nothing, okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye, carried. Thank you. There is no public forum. No one has registered to speak to us tonight, so we'll go to item 2, confirmation of minutes. I'll now take a motion to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of November 2024. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Speechley. Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Thank you, Councillor Speechley. Anybody else? Write a reply of nothing? No, okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. 3.1. I haven't got it on my list. It's not on my list. I'm sorry. Can I have a look at it? I'll take a motion to accept the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th, the confidential ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of November 2024. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Councillor Wright, thank you. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Wright. No. Anybody else? Can't write a reply, not required. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. All right. 3.1 is the mayoral minute, the New South Wales Joint Organisation Board meeting of 13th, 14th of November 2024 in Sydney. I'll move that be accepted. Thank you. Anybody like to make any comments? It's all as it is. So, I don't need to write a reply, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Okay. I got to listen to politicians for a couple of days. Thank you. Item 4, the General Committee recommendations. 4.1, the Investments and Financial Report. Councillor Kiss, Councillor Watt, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
We did discuss this at our previous general meeting. Satisfied that we have a healthy return. The investments have been placed in accordance with regulations. Thank you.
Councillor Watt. Anybody else like to comment? Write a reply? Not required. Thank you very much. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Thank you. 4.2, the 2024-25 Policy Review Draft Policy on Legislative Compliance. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Fagan. Councillor Horton, thank you, Councillor Fagan.
Just to say that this is a requirement of the New South Wales Government that we adopt this compliance policy, and our staff has done an able job, and we will, and it's just housekeeping really. So thank you.
Councillor Horton, not required. Anybody else like to make comment? Write a reply? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you very much. 4.3, 2024-25 policy review, the draft policy on honour roll Order of Australia. Can I have a mover, please? Oh, thank you,
I'll
Councillor.
move that.
Seconder, please. Horton, thank you. Councillor Fagan.
This is just another legislation requirement, a policy that includes the King rather than the Queen, recognises the King rather than the Queen, and it's really just another housekeeping matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fagan. Councillor Horton. Not required. Anyone else like to make a comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Fagan. Councillor Kiss, Councillor Wright, did you want to?
Well, the only question was, if you received an award off the Queen, does that still exist now going forward when you've got a king?
It's over my pay grade, I'm afraid. Yes, it does, apparently. Thank you very much, Councillor Wright. Anybody else? Right, a reply, Councillor Fagan.
Not needed, thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Those of you in the gallery, it was to change the honour roll to reflect the King rather than the Queen. So just a bit of clarification there. 4.4, Cowra Library operating hours and the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library program.
Point of order, we separated these two in the...
Sorry, I can't hear you, Councillor.
I said point of order, this is not the recommendation that came from the committee meeting. We separated this into two separate
We had two separate motions at the committee meeting. I thought this reflected that, but if you'd like to split it
I'd
into
like to
one
split
and
it,
two,
yes, please.
we will go with, I think it's 1 and 2 from memory. Page 82, isn't it? Bear with me, please. We did split it up in the
I think what is needed is items 1 and 2 is one motion, one dot point,
Yes.
and then
1 and
item
2. 1
item
and 2
3 to
will be the
6 is
first
number
motion, and then we'll do 3,
3 to 6.
4, 5, and 6 in the second, which is the same as we did in the committee. So for items 1 and 2, can I have a mover of that, please? Councillor Horton, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this goes to a trial that was run to test the waters for extended hours. So extended hours during the week, so adding an hour on at the end of normal opening hours, but then also extending Saturdays to add in afternoons. So that ran for a period of months. The trial was finalised. We were presented with some data on usage rates over that period, and the data doesn't support continuing to extend those business hours for the library. The data just doesn't support extended hours. There's a bit of discussion around different things, different reasons that libraries get used and what have you, but it still doesn't change what we saw in the data in terms of the usage. So I don't think we can't justify continuing the trial. So I think we revert back to standard operating hours for the library. I also note that as far as I'm aware, up until recently and after the trial had concluded, we hadn't received into council any negative commentary or feedback about those hours rolling back to standard operating hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Anybody else like to comment?
I've got one
Councillor
question. Central West Libraries, we pay them money so they employ the staff, from what I know. We send them money over there to do it. Why are we setting the hours and not Central West Libraries?
Okay. It's a matter for council to decide the hours and then they provide the service. So it's up to us. We could open 7 days a week if we wanted to, providing they'd do the service, providing we're prepared to pay. Anybody else?
I'd just like to
Councillor
speak
Downing?
against it. Although I wasn't here in the meeting last week, I did watch it on Tuesday, and I disagree with stopping the trial now. I don't think we've made a great effort at the trial. It's been 3 months, hasn't been advertised well as we've established before. And I think every one of us knows that Cowra takes a while to catch on to things and to push things ahead. So I would be suggesting that we give it another 3 months, although the figures don't add up. It's an initial 3 months is not really what we can judge it on. We are a learning community. That's what we say in our community strategic plan, and New South Wales is one of the lowest states for reading and writing, according to the government. So we're falling behind already, and it would be a nice thing for our community if we could encourage people to use the library.
Anybody? Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also speaking against this motion. As has been discussed at great length by this council, the promotion for this trial was completely insignificant. As has come to light since our last meeting, our Cowra Council page promoted these opening hours once, and the Central West Libraries page, I've checked that, Larissa, and have provided evidence, and the Central West Libraries page did not promote it a single time. In contrast, we promoted the Sports Day 7 times, and Central West Library promoted a 1 hour Justice of Peace 5 times. There is no way that in this day and age we can consider that an appropriate trial. Going back and checking, when I personally reached out to our team to tell them that the hours were incorrect on the door of the library, on our website, and on the Central West Library's website, that was halfway through the trial. This was not fixed until 6 weeks into a 3-month trial. This can in no way be declared as an appropriate trial. We've all articulated in the past the importance of libraries, and I hope that I don't have to articulate that here more. But I think it's worth considering what we deem as worth the cost. The paper put to this council suggested that the cost of this program would run to around $12,000 a year, and it was articulated here that that wasn't financially worthwhile. For reference, in the minutes we just adopted of the November meeting, we donated $6,000 to School Spectacular and $6,000 to New Year's Eve celebrations. While in no way I'm not saying that these are valid, that is equal to extended hours for the library for an entire year. In one meeting, we have happily gave those through community grants, but we are completely unwilling after a 3-month trial to consider expanding to this point. People in the room say that there wasn't sufficient data. In fact, there was a 10% increase in people who attended. I think most of you didn't actually look at those numbers. As we've also articulated, this only shows new entries at that point, which may mean actually that a lot of the people that were there who entered at 5 o'clock stayed till 6 o'clock, and we do not have this data. We at no point set out what the level of which attendance would be that we would deem this appropriate. And to be honest, I think a 10% increase when we had so minimal promotion of this, and we know in everything else that we do not give this amount of time for it to happen, it's abominable that this council thinks that that isn't an appropriate use of money. The potential that this has is huge. My fellow councillor Horton articulated there's been no complaints. I have received complaints and I have passed those on to council. An author in Cowra I spoke to the week before the trial ended did not know that the trial was on. She attended Monday night, the first opportunity she could go since I told her, and was very disappointed to see the doors were closed, on which there was no sign to tell people that the hours had stopped. There was nothing on our Facebook page. There continues to be nothing on our Facebook page. There continues to be nothing in any other promotion that we've used to tell people this trial has not gone ahead. And as we can see here, 10% increase in the amount of people who attended. So there are people who would have come along and not known. Our staff did not promote this. Our staff told someone on the first day that the trial hours were a mistake when they were printed in the paper. If that's the communication that has been having with our community, how are we surprised that more people didn't come along? How are we surprised that there were days where there was no one else, no one who entered after 5 o'clock? But looking at this, overall, there was a significant increase without community engagement, without a push, without activities happening at the time. If we were to do any kind of promotion like we do when we extend the pool hours, we would put on activities, we would promote it on Facebook, we would give it to the schools, we would tell people about it, and we did not do this. I think this council needs to extend this trial and do it properly, and I urge all of my councillors, my fellow councillors, to vote against this motion.
Thank you. Anybody else like to make a comment? I will just comment that in the facts provided by the staff, they didn't allow for the fact that I had promoted it on the radio interviews. I do 3 a week, and I promoted it probably 8 or 10 times that the council was having an extension. Excuse me, Councillor Watt, I am speaking, and when I'm speaking, I would like silence, please. I promoted it 8 to 10 times on the radio in my thing. So, right a reply, Councillor.
I'm sorry, I'd like to speak.
I'm sorry. Yes, certainly, Councillor Fagan.
Thank you. I'm actually for this, against this motion as well. I've had time to think about it since the committee meeting last week, and I feel that this probably hasn't been well promoted and publicised. And I think the next 3 months will be an ideal opportunity for us to extend the hours at the library. I feel that the holidays, the activities and the movies on, and it's a very quiet, cool spot. It would be really great to have all of those people that are going to the movies, going to the art gallery during the holidays, have the opening hours extended as well. So I'm quite keen to change this and make the amendment. I know Councillor Watt put up an amendment last time, put a motion forward last time, and it got defeated. I feel if this motion gets defeated, then we would have, I'd like to foreshadow another motion that reflects what Councillor Watt said last week. But at this stage, I'm not supporting it. I think at $2,571, it's not a lot of money. I think we should try it again. I think, as Councillor Downey said, it is hard for people to get to know what's going on. It takes time. And I believe that this would be a terrific holiday activity or an outcome for us to provide a quiet, cool spot during the holidays. And I think it would be taken up if we promoted it properly. So I'm going to vote against this. Thank you. And I foreshadow a motion if it doesn't get up.
Would anybody else like to comment? Right a reply, Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton, sorry.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for the debate. No one's anti-library. No one's anti-access to the library. I'm certainly not. I would question. I take your point, Councillor Fagan, about extending the trial. I don't know how much use that's going to be over school holidays. It's could go either way, I suppose. I still support this motion. I think we revert to standard hours. The library's still open. Standard hours. The library's still open on a Saturday morning. People can access it during those hours. I don't see that we will get any sort of change to the outcome, frankly, if we extend for another 3 months. I think we'll end up in a similar situation where we might have a few, and we'll argue about whether or not they were there already and just stayed a little bit longer. Unless we have very specific information on very specific individuals and what they did while they were there and how long they were there for, and whether it was a unique visit or a visit where they stayed a little bit longer. I'm not sure we'll be in a position to make those decisions based on the numbers that we have, and I don't see those changing significantly. I don't see why we would continue to offer a service that's not being used. Thank you.
Okay. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Can I hold the hands up a bit longer, please, so I can see? 3. Those against? The motion is defeated.
I have a motion that the council note the outcome of the trial of extended Cowra Library opening hours which have resulted in a slight increase of library patronage compared to irregular hours and requiring, and that we, number 2, we continue a trial for the next 3 months with a marketing and progressive marketing and campaign across the council area. Sorry, I haven't got any words. It wasn't something I was going to do. So if that's okay, that we extend the hours as per the trial that's already been held. Does that make sense to you, Alan?
For 3 months, is it? Another 3 months, yeah.
For 3 months.
Everybody got that? Do I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, councillor Watt. Councillor Fagan.
I'd just like to say that we have discussed this at length. I did change my mind, and I thank all the councillors for supporting this. I think it's one of those things that we tried, and it hasn't been a success, but I do think it is worth trying again. I believe that we are trying to educate our children. We are trying to find safe places for people to be, and I think that having the hours open at the library will allow people longer to, as I said, find a cool, quiet spot on a hot day in the holidays. Hopefully we'll be able to do something at the movies as well, and the library will maybe run some activities. We'll have to discuss that with the library, with Central West Libraries, about whether what we can do to actually boost these numbers. I think there's quite a lot of potential, and I think we should start doing this and it also may benefit the art gallery as well. And we've got a new art gallery director. I think we need to talk about it with a lot more depth and a lot more with a lot more promotion in the future. So I'm keen to take this up with the library, with the movies, with the cinema, and with the art gallery, because I think that it could be a really vibrant community thing to do, especially in the holidays. And I think we should, and if it goes on for longer, then it'll be a terrific outcome. Thank you.
Councillor Watt. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Kiss.
Look, I like Councillor Fagan. I had initially decided to vote in favour of the original recommendation, but I do believe the councillor Watts made some very valid points where I don't know, it does take Cowra a long time to make new adjustments. And look, I just think if we're going to make a trial, we need to be definitive. We need to have a yes or no. And look, it may well be that we do extend hours and it's just over the holidays. That will then at least give us some figures to support potentially only having it open extended hours through the school holidays or through the summer months. I mean, this is a bit of an experimental time for us to see what does work and what doesn't work. But to go this far and only sort of done it halfway, I think it's a bit of a waste. So that's why I've supported the foreshadowed motion.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Speechley.
I would just like to request that in the extension of the library hours, that the data that's collected around who's coming through, how long they're staying, are they people who come in every day or are they new people? Because we're talking about developing and growing the actual patronage rather than just the numbers of visits of maybe people who are there currently. So I'd like to really see quite a robust data set that we could measure at the end of the process, if possible.
Yeah, I think, Councillor Speechley, we're practicable. We can do that. I don't know how easy it'll be to track who's there and how long they're there for. That'll be we're practical.
I understand that, but given the numbers that we've seen in the first trial, the number of people who came in after those hours, if it's 1 or 2 people, I wouldn't have thought that would be such a challenge. Obviously, if there's an overwhelming number of people, that's great. We wouldn't need the data, but if it's just a few people, I think we could ask the people to participate. They know that there's an extension of the hours. It's a trial. Please participate. Please give us your feedback and complete a simple survey. And of course, we can't force them to, but if it's onerous, that means it's been a success.
Fair enough. Anybody else? Councillor Wright.
Making it as Councillor Kiss said changing something in Cowra does take a while, but it's not necessarily that it can't be done. Did we talk to Central West Libraries before we changed the hours to what other people have been doing? I'll have a question first before I have a dig.
I think the director might have some idea of a trial that was held by Central West Library some time ago.
Yeah, through the chair, there was a paper that was prepared by Central West Libraries reviewing library hours in Cowra. That paper, from my recollection, changed the opening hours during the week from 10 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. There was a later closing time on a Thursday afternoon. The library closed, I believe, at 6. They pulled the closing time back, I think, to 5 o'clock. And there was also examination of whether or not we should continue with more extended hours on a Saturday. And my recollection of the paper is that there wasn't a view that there would be sufficient increase in patronage, so the hours were wound back. And a big reason for that, I believe, was due to conflicts with other activities in the Shire, especially sporting events. Unfortunately, I don't have the paper in front of me today, but I'm happy to circulate it.
Yeah, thanks very much, and you probably explained it better than you think you have. Every town's different, but I think it's to do this extended trial is a good thing. Whether it'd be interesting to see how many people do use it through January when it is holidays, people go away or they just lay low, and whether it needs to go for an extra month after they get back to school or something and get into a routine. But I know Cowra Shire used to come up here. I think I don't know if they're still a shire, are they? They've been amalgamated. And the fellow there with the library, they were doing a lot of different things to get kids into it, and with a cafe and all that. But we've got a cafe across the street that could do that, and they're offering different things just instead of borrowing books. And I think it's worth giving it a go with a commitment to tell people what's in the library and what's available, and generate a bit of support that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Anybody else like to make a comment?
Can I just ask a quick question? Alan, do you know what year that study was undertaken?
Through the chair, I believe it was within the past 4 years.
We had the same similar question.
Councillor, can you please? I will.
Sure.
Yep, sorry. Councillor Downey.
Do you know how long the trial went for, Alan?
Through the chair, I don't have those details.
Okay.
I will circulate the paper.
Anybody else write a reply, Councillor Fagan?
Yes, I'm the library rep, the Central West Library rep, and unfortunately I've fallen down on my job and didn't actually follow this through because I thought it was going to be handled locally. I will take it on board that I will contact all of the people that are involved, and I'll make sure that actually the marketing is done and that we actually do a better job of promoting this, because I think I was relying on Central West Libraries to do it, but they obviously need a bit of a kick along. And I'm sure they will, because they are quite keen to get people to use the library, of course. So we have really big investment in the library. We've just renovated it. It looks fabulous. It's got great areas for everybody to spend time. And I think that this is an opportunity for us to promote that. I do think that we need to take it a bit further, and maybe as I said, I've been remiss and haven't taken charge, but I promise to do so in the future, and hopefully we'll have a great trial period the next 3 months, and we'll get lots of people to use the library and the coffee shop and the art gallery and the civic centre, because I think that's the aim, is to make this a civic square, and I think if we can promote that as a civic square and this is part of it, then we will be more successful in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Fagan. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. We'll now go on to items 3, 4, 5 and 6, which is the Dolly Parton Imagination Library Program. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Watt. Seconder? Councillor Kiss. Thank you. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We spoke about this quite a lot in the last meeting, but to recap, in particular for our new councillor, the Dolly Parton Library is one that we were given grant funding to participate in as a low socioeconomic community. And what it is a delivery for all children who are born in Cowra, in the Cowra Shire, to receive a book a month until they are 5, so 60 books over the lifetime. And I have given you all a little prop for this morning. This one I've got here this afternoon. It's definitely not morning. This is how it looks when you get it in the mail once a month. Comes in a little packet. It's addressed to your child. Poor Freddie didn't get to unwrap his this month because I kept it as a prop. Each month you get a they call it culturally appropriate and Australian supported. So most of them are Australian. Thank you. Most of them are Australian authors. There's a number of First Nations authors put in place. Comes with a little guide, which I, the nerd that I am, I stick to the back of the book so it keeps it with me, and it gives you a bunch of directives about how to read the book to your child. And this was for someone with an honours degree in the arts portfolio from a top level university. I learnt things from reading this, and I think every person who picks this up does, and that's definitely what the research shows. These teach parents how to talk to their kids about concepts, about colours, about feelings, and use books for so much more than just reading the words on the page. And that's really what we want to achieve through shared learning and shared reading. I've circulated to councillors the research that's been done to date in here, and there's currently a PhD going forward for the next couple of years. But the research, as we know in general, the first 1,000 days or first 3 years of a child's life is the most significant for brain development. And what the research around where these programs have existed in other places has shown that the children receiving these books are performing above average on ratios on statistics that will tell you about what their literacy is, what their engagement is. And these books primarily have gone to communities with very low literacy and low socioeconomic situations, which is just outstanding that they are now providing beyond that. So some really interesting stats that I pulled out of these reports that I'm sure you all read in great detail, but the report showed that after receiving the Imagination Library for 6 months, 71% of children were being read to 6 days per week or more per week, which was maintained again when they checked in at 12 months. And a study of 1 million children in Australia showed that generally, on average, only 60% of kids were being read to 6 days or more. This is such an amazing program that I really think the council should get behind. This is a complicated one, as we had in the last meeting, none of us in this room think that this is a cost that council should bear. I think it's atrocious to be asking a low socioeconomic community to invest in a program that was meant to help us, and we are now taking that money away from our community and things we could do in other places. But I think in this moment, the continuation of the program, while we advocate to the state government to sign back up to the program as a whole, is really important. This impact for our community can be so significant, and I think it's a really smart use of public money for our community to be investing in this way. The outcomes that this can have from kids having higher literacy rates when they get to school is huge, and it will flow through our community for a long time to come. And I think it would be amazing if our kids kept receiving this. As someone who receives them, it's an absolute pleasure every time they come in the mail, and we still bring them out regularly. I gave Councillor Cave one of my favourites at the moment about explaining to kids baby names for animals, and we all learn something in that, and it's great for the identification and development of sound. So I encourage everyone to support this. We've already got in our motion here for the council to lobby state government and call on our local member to support us in doing that, and I think we really need to push that over the next couple of months to make sure our kids can keep getting this amazing program. Thank you.
Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And look, I think Councillor Watts hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's absolutely no denying that we need to improve literacy levels. But she has also acknowledged too that we can't be expecting a low socioeconomic society to be able to fund these sorts of things as well. Look, I'm quite happy to support us trialling it for for the January to June period to see if they are able to continue with funding from the state level. And I'm pleased that we are lobbying to member Steph Cook. Look, I actually see additional opportunity in here, and I know that this is pending it falling through, but I suppose it's being a little bit of a realist here too. I do see the benefits of these books going to the youngsters. I see there being extra opportunity following this to, if it doesn't work in particular, to perhaps have free books available simply through exchanging, simply through playgroups, through preschools, every opportunity where there is to have a children's book library. So I'm hoping that even if this doesn't go ahead after the June, that it's not the be all and end all, that we do have some community group or groups or individuals who will take on all of these statistical figures and say, you know what, we need to make this happen, even if we don't have the funds to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Anybody else like to comment? Thank you, Councillor Downing.
Rotary does have a program. It's called Books for Babies, but they only give babies born at Cowra Hospital one book actually on their birth. So this takes it a little bit further. It is a lot of money if we were to have to fund this ourselves over the long term. I can't see why we wouldn't give it a go and continue what's been suggested here for the short term. It's quite disappointing that Dolly Parton Imagination Library gets a lot of publicity and Dolly Parton gives us absolutely not 1 cent to it. So that's very disappointing, but yeah, I'm happy to support this.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak on this? Right, a reply, Councillor. Yep. Councillor Cave.
Hi, I support this, and we can try to get maybe some more support from other places and putting it out there. So, yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Watt, right, a reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you all for your contributions on this. This is honestly the most universal thing that council will support, I think, probably in their entire life of council. We don't provide water to 98% of our community. We don't provide sewerage to 98% of our community. None of the roads we build provides to 98% of the community, but 98% of children born in Cowra Hospital sign up to be part of this program, and I think that's outstanding that we are able to provide something so significant to our community in that way. We have many conversations in this room and have had one tonight about supporting programs that support particular groups of people or particular parts of society, and this is one that is across the board. I forgot to mention earlier, my colleagues have reminded me tonight about how we get books into people's homes and how regularly. And one of the key factors of the importance and of the success of this program is actually the monthly delivery of those books. They say there's great research into the amount of books in a child's home having an impact on their literacy and speaking, as well as the regular reminder. Many parents who were spoken to as part of the research said, if you get out of that routine, that regular reminder of it turning up at your door makes you get back into that routine. And the excitement of kids receiving mail is another one that gets people back into that routine. And we're amazingly grateful for the fantastic Cowra Rotary and the great programs that we do. And it's such a benefit when you have a child to have those fantastic gifts from somewhere like Rotary, as well as our amazing library here and the many community groups who support people. But there is real research and backing behind the methods in this. And what I agree with Councillor Downing that it is, I was heartbroken when I found out that Dolly didn't actually fund at least half of this. She doesn't fund any of it. But it is embedded in some really strong research in the States and now again in Australia based on programs like the one we're taking up of the benefit. So encourage everyone to support it, and let's hope it continues to be on Council's agenda for advocacy and our conversations about how we can continue it in our community.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. 4.5, the budget update on the Cole Stinson Netball Park facilities. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Downing, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did speak quite extensively about all of the issues that have contributed to this budget update at the previous meeting, and there's no doubt that we do need to allow for these construction variations. In particular, if we don't do them, then we also risk not meeting the eligibility construction time for our grant funding as well. So yeah, I'm supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Downing.
Just to reiterate what Councillor Kiss has said, that this is a bit of a blowout in the budget. Going forward, the staff have plans for new projects going forward, so hopefully the costs will be kept down in the future. So yeah, we need to do this to finish it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Fagan.
As I said at the committee meeting, this has been a long-term project of the Netball Association and Council, and it's very terrific that we've actually succeeded in finishing it after many, many downsides. I mean, we've had the floods and we had COVID and we had blowouts in the budget, and I know that there was quite a lot of unintended consequences for a lot of those things up at that site. And I think that this is a testament to our staff, and I congratulate them working with the Netball Association, who are very strong-willed and really love their netball. And I think it's important that we acknowledge their contribution, because they've been very active in promoting this and trying to get it finished. And it's great because Cowra has one of the largest netball clubs in New South Wales, and the most number of netballers. And I know that Young doesn't have a netball team at all, so they come to Cowra, and a lot of other places don't either. So Cowra has a very good netball reputation, and people really understand that this is a great place to play netball, and I'm very pleased that we've been able to get this across the line. Thanks very much, the director as well.
Thank you, Councillor Fagan. Anybody else like to speak on this? Right, a reply, Councillor Kiss. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Carried. 4.6, public exhibition of the draft Cowra housing strategy. Councillor Fagan, Councillor Wright. Thank you. Councillor Fagan.
I'd just like to recommend that we approve this recommendation, we adopt this recommendation, which is to put the draft Cowra housing strategy on public exhibition for 28 days. This has been quite a lot of work. We've had a contractor do this draft strategy outside of council. They've consulted widely with developers and agents and community people, and I think it is reflective that it actually has a lot of very good information in it. Whether we adopt all of these things is up to people outside in the community to say what they would like now, and I think that's we are saying this is where we would like to go and how we would like to see our town progress, but it's important that people have a say. And I think, as I said on committee meeting, we have a lot of small developers who often own a couple of blocks of land and have their own houses on them, and we've had quite a few developers, larger developers, have some input into this, which I think is important as well. But people need to know what's going on, and it'd be terrific if we had some further information from the local people who own land in West Cowra and on the edges of town, and see what they think about whether we should subdivide smaller blocks or whether we should allow different housing developments on different blocks. And I think I'm hoping that we will actually get quite a lot of feedback after we put this on exhibition, and it will be on exhibition until, what's the date? 7th of February. So it's a bit of an awkward time, but I do think that see how we go. I guess we can always come back and extend that time if that's the case. We can't do that, but it needs to be back in April. So we need to have it finalised. So it's important that we actually have a look at this, and I think everyone around the table will study it. I mean, I've had a good look at it, but it does really need a lot more looking, and I'm looking forward to sitting down and having a really good look when I haven't got so many meetings on. So that's something we're looking forward to. So I commend this draft strategy. Thank the department, the planning department, for putting it forward.
Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you. I ask you to support this recommendation to put the strategy out there for the rest of the town to see, and then it will come back to us, and any recommendations we will consider if it needs changes, and we can also consider if it still meets the standard that we need. And it is a housing strategy rather than a precise plan. And it was risen during it became apparent during our briefing from the people that drafted this strategy that there's quite a few vacant lots in Cowra which would meet the future demands of housing, but they've been owned by some people for quite a long time, and they haven't been developed. So we do need a strategy on where we put houses if we can't use those blocks, and we need to engage with the developers. There's one developer got quite a lot of land to the north and the northeast that it's not completely developed, and try and engage with them what we're looking for in the strategy. It was mentioned last week that we haven't made provision for childcare centres and so forth. That hardly comes under a strategy. That becomes under when a developer develops a lot of land, what he's got to provide in those things. Because I remember when the Watt family developed north of Evans Street, they were supposed to have a small corner shop type development there, but that never happened because Woolworths and the main street were too close. So it's very hard to say, itemise where you want these things in a strategy. It's when the vacant land becomes developed, we might be able to suggest what goes on in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Horton.
Thank you. Yes, agree. I think this needs to be, and I would encourage councillors, council staff, anyone to take the opportunity between now and the 7th of February to talk to people about the strategy. I think we need to see it as a dynamic document. It calls out everything from large lot development, greenfield development, infill development opportunities for us as a council, to review current policies to see if we think we've got the settings right. I don't think there's any suggestion that anyone thinks it's a perfect document, but it's a conversation piece, it's a conversation starter, and we really need to take the opportunity in the next couple of months to get that feedback and get that information back from the community and from each other. We should be talking to each other about what we're hearing and what people are saying, where they think the gaps are, so that we put ourselves in the best place possible by the time we have to respond to have as comprehensive a view as we can possibly muster. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else like to? Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And look, at the risk of sounding flippant, I'd actually suggest that families have copies of the housing strategy available or just sitting on the computer around the table around Christmas time, around the holiday periods. And as Councillor Horton said, you know, it's actually a conversation piece, conversation starter. This is a community document, and we actually will have greater opportunity over the Christmas holiday period to have generational response, you know, that intergenerational perspective on what we actually want. What are the parents after? What do we want as the grandparents? So I actually think, even though it's in one perspective we say, well, it's over Christmas, that's a difficult period, but I actually think it's quite an ideal opportunity for families to get together and see what they want from our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Anybody else? Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'm speaking against this motion, and I really can't support this draft because I think it misses a lot of opportunities to build the Cowra our community is asking for. And while I understand many of my colleagues have put forward the argument that supporting this draft housing document is supporting an opening of a conversation for the community, while that is right, it will be read as Cowra Council's vision for housing for the next 20 years. And this isn't a vision that I support for Cowra, and it's not one that most people I speak to support for Cowra. This report prioritises and encourages the development of smaller density housing and focuses on the building of that housing, likely in the wrong places. Without a doubt, supporting older people in our community is a very important part of what we need to do for the future. but this plan proposes that we do it in areas up near the peace precinct, in new areas of development, which is generally not what people of this community are looking for. Older people generally are looking for smaller lots on flat areas and walkable to main services, or easily accessible to services like the hospital, or like the doctor's surgery, cafes, etc. This proposal looks to put our retirees on a hill a long way from all of those services. In many parts of our community, the Sydney-based ideas of walkable communities is not as important and not as significant, because getting around town in a car is very easy. While we all might complain about the parking and the traffic over the bridge, really, in comparison to lots of other places, it's not that bad. But the only place really where that is shown to be evident in conversations around the community is with the older community who are looking for smaller houses. And the situation we have now is that there isn't really those options in that space. There may be options in other developments, but then that's not what they're looking for. I think the other thing that this, one of the many things this document really misses or causes challenge in, is the approach to West Cowra. And following our conversations last week and over the last month, I've gone and had a few conversations outside of this place in regards to this, and I'm increasingly concerned by the proposal that we reduce the land area we reduce to 4,000 square metres, the lot size to build a single dwelling. And the reason I'm concerned about that is because people, a number of people who bought in West Cowra, perhaps not everyone, but those who bought large lots that can be subdivided, did it in a strategic way, and the strategic way with the intention to subdivide when council followed through on their commitment to West Cowra Sewer. To take this interim step would massively reduce the potential of expanded housing in West Cowra, and these lots are really where we're going to get that outcome. In reports we've got previously, it's been articulated there will be potential for 700 new lots in West Cowra if West Cowra Sewer was implemented in full. But in comparison, if we went forward with this and our community picked up potentially a lot that could be subdivided into 6 lots with the West Cowra Sewer, would be subdivided into 3 with this proposal put forward. And once that happens, the likelihood of further subdivision is going to be very limited. As long as Cowra Council is committed to West Cowra Sewer, and we are at the moment, we haven't made a decision to not support it. We need to be strategic about our choices and look to the long term. This is a 20-year plan for our future, and it's embedding the resources and the infrastructure going forward for what we need. And we need to be very careful that we don't look for a quick sugar hit in terms of housing to get a lesser outcome for our community. As Councillor Wright articulated, the blocks already in existence with approved EAs do have a large potential to meet the housing that's proposed that we would need over the next 20 years here. Personally, I think that we should be looking to develop housing above the number articulated here of future housing, but it's great to see that we really do have that there. And I think that we should be prioritising working with those developers and working in that space to kickstart activity here. We've had conversations in my time on council that investing in the infrastructure needed for some of those areas isn't currently in the budget and isn't currently a priority of council. And if we truly believe that housing is a priority, we should look at our budget over the next couple of months and figure out how we can fund that if it is truly our priority. I'm extremely concerned that this document looks to our current age-sex ratio and looks at the past matrix apologies in the past and sees that we're an ageing population and accepts that as a fait accompli. When I look at statistics like that, I think about, well, how can we change this? We've got funding to create a 20-year plan. We should be sitting here to say, how can we continue our vibrant community? How can we encourage working age people to move to Cowra? How can we support our businesses in bringing new people in? Always I hear when I talk to businesses around town that they're desperate to bring people. They find people who are willing to move. They can't find a house. They can't find even somewhere to rent for a short period of time. They can't get their kids into childcare, so they don't come. And we don't want that situation for Cowra. There's so much potential, and as we can see in the statistics here, there's so much demand for housing, and that demand predominantly is for 3 to 4 bedroom houses. we have the world has changed a lot since COVID. People are very much interested in larger lots. They're interested in that rural appeal that we give. Cowra is still much more affordable than other places. It's definitely not affordable, but comparatively to places like Orange and especially Sydney, people are able to move here and have a comfortable life. People from a particular demographic, of course, but it is an appealing place for people to move. We are close to a number of great resources. We are not very far from Sydney. We're not very far from Canberra. We have a lot here for people to look to. And I think it's reflected in the community survey that was undertaken here and reflected in other research about why people move to the regions. But having those larger areas, having backyards, not being smushed is a real part of that. And I think we should listen to that when we're putting forward our strategy for the future. I'm really, I can't imagine that while I'm speaking against this, I don't think that the majority of the room is going to support me in speaking against it. So I believe this will go on exhibition on the 20th of December. And it is extremely unfortunate that this is happening over the Christmas period. My household is a little bit like Nikki's, and we'll be talking about it over the Christmas table, but unfortunately I don't think everyone will be, particularly when it lands on the Friday before Christmas. So I think it's really our job as councillors to talk to our community about it, get it out there and ask people to send in submissions. It doesn't need to be anything pretty. It can be a couple of lines in an email telling us what you think about your part of Cowra, what you want the future to be. And we'll take all that on and listen to what our community wants and think about making this the best plan it can be for our community. But to be clear, I am not I'm not supporting the proposals in here, and I don't support that focus that Cowra focuses on smaller houses and focuses on preparing ourselves solely for an ageing population. This needs to be a holistic plan. It does need to have the articulation of the services that we're going to provide, the expectations we're going to have on developers for where they build. And these documents are the things that developers look at when they're considering buying land in a community like ours, particularly those larger lots with 100 lots. And while we often think people might not read the documents we put forward here, people who are buying property do. People who are making a choice of whether to move to this town do. They look at our commitment to West Carasua, they look at our commitment to what kind of housing we want in our community, and they will decide whether or not to invest based on that. So I think we really need to be careful in what we put forward. And I'll, as articulated, I'll be voting against it, and I would encourage councillors to consider this as well.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Fagan, write a reply.
Yes, I would like to say that this is an excellent document put out by a qualified planner, and he's consulted widely in our community. It has been a long time coming. He has been very involved in a lot of things in town, and he's actually been to see the developers have had the developers and the local landholders have all had the opportunity to speak to him, and as well as the builders and the real estate agents. I have a background in real estate and in planning, so I have a fair bit of information that I think could bring to the table on this, and I don't think it's a problem. I don't know what else we would ever put up in place of this. I think that would be a mistake to not put anything up. We have received the funding from the state government to do this plan, and I think it's we're very lucky to have got that, because it is an expensive option to actually do one of these. I believe that that this will provide certainty to all our local landholders, and I think that it does actually give us the opportunity to have smaller density housing. It does also have infill, which is more affordable, because you can always use the infrastructure that's already there, like sewerage and water and electricity, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel, and that does provide a lot of affordable housing for more senior people and people who want to walk in the middle of the town. So it does actually provide that opportunity, and I'd be interested to see how many people are going to take that up. It does not need, we're not forcing anyone to subdivide their land in West Cowra. We're actually just may change the zoning limits so that people can, if they'd like to change a lot of people in West Cowra bought those blocks because they like the larger blocks and they want to stay there, and they would not, maybe in the future they may subdivide, but many of those people I'm sure haven't even have have not even thought of that. So West Cowra is an interesting place. We do want to put some sewerage in there at some time. It is expensive, like $16 million. So it would be, and this will actually, if we put more residents into West Cowra, it'll be much easier to put in the sewerage later on. Not in my time, I'm sure, but it will be easier if we have more people using the sewerage. You know, flow is it's all about the flow. So it'll be great if we could do that. As I said, it's a qualified planner. It's a qualified plan. It's actually well done, and I put it on, and I'm hoping that we'll get lots of people to give us some feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fagan. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you.
Can I have that documented, please, in the minutes?
You'd like that recorded?
Yes, please.
Yep. Thank you. 4.7 Cowra Development Control Plan 2021 amended Part E4 Urban and Village Development, in addition to the Valley View Estate Planning Controls. Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Kiss, Councillor Watt.
People might start talking about us, Councillor Kiss. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we all know, this is purely fixing an issue that has occurred in the past and resolving that inconsistency where purchasers were given different information than existed in our planning policy. And I really thank the staff for pulling this together. It was a complicated piece to work through everyone's thoughts and feelings on it, and has come after a lot of work in this area, and hopefully will provide us some clarity for the future, particularly as we expand the Valley View estate hopefully soon.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I support everything that Councillor Watt has said. The other thing that I would just like to reiterate, as I have in previous meetings, and this is because I've had some community members approach me about concern of community title, believing that this particular document would prevent that from happening, that in the future it still has no relevance, that community title can still potentially occur, but that this will amend a lot of the other inconsistencies that were occurring. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Wright.
Yeah, I support it, but we're sort of shutting the door after the horses got away. But it will be useful as we go into the next stage of development up in the Valley View estate. And it sets things out what they can and can't do. Regarding the title, community title, yes, this won't stop community title, but community title has got a set of rules that's got to be abided by too. And it's not something that people can use willy-nilly to get a different sort of development through. And we don't need to change anything because the community title is clearly set out in the regulations under the Local Government Act, Planning Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Anybody else like to comment? Write a reply, Councillor Watt.
No, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All right. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Oh, two against? I've been advised that we don't have to put hands up. So I'll just go run through it again. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. 4.8. This is a motion to defer the minimum lot size for dual occupancy in R2 low density residential zone in West Cowra until we get more information. Can I have a mover for that?
Can I have
please?
a question first, if I could?
Yep.
Just to ask if we have sought extension for the timing. How much time do we have?
Through the chair, no, we haven't. We're just finalising the last lot of information that we need for you. So you should have that information by the end of the week.
Okay. For the next.
Regardless, I don't think we will meet that deadline.
So you are asking for an extension as well,
Yes.
just for the timing and
Yes,
things?
we are.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So can I have a mover for that? Councillor Watt, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Downing, thank you. Councillor Watt,
No, thank you. I don't need to speak.
Councillor Downing. Anybody else like to comment? Write a reply, Councillor Watt. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Passed. Number 5, 5.1, the cost estimate for the by-election that were held in November. That's for noting. Can I have a move it?
Can I have a question, please?
Yes.
Can I ask? So this is for the by-election, and we still have to pay for the election. It doesn't read like I can't understand it. So if you would explain, that would be good. Maybe the director would explain. We have to pay another $140,000 for the election as well, or is it just this?
I'll attempt to give you a bit of a, and I say if you have a look at the actual bill itself, the estimate itself, it's broken into all the categories where they've spent money, and a lot of those they didn't spend on the actual election because the hire of the sites and the staff and all of that. So I'm expecting or hoping that the bill for the election will be a lot less than what they estimated it would be because they didn't do most of it.
But this is a bill for the by-election.
Yep.
Are we getting another bill for the election? Have we got any information about that?
I assume we would be, wouldn't we?
Through the chair, we are yet to receive the bill for the actual election. We're expecting that to arrive around March. And at this point in time, we do not have a current estimate of the costs. So we will have 2 bills.
Okay, so in our budget, we have an election cost that we actually, for the original election, of 140,000, I think it is. So this, so we will just add, anyway, it's it for noting anyway. So, but it will be something that we'll have to include in our budget for next year. Seems ridiculous. But anyway, we will wait and see what the New South Wales Electoral Commission comes back with. Thank you.
So do I have a mover, please?
I'll move that.
Thank you, Councillor Fagan. A seconder? Councillor Wright, thank you. Councillor Fagan?
I just that it seems ridiculous that they're sending us an invoice for 141,000 according to this, not even 141,000 for this for the by-election, and we doesn't say by-election, it says election cost estimate for 2024. So that's the cost of the election that we were going to have, but we didn't have, and now the invoice. So sorry, I don't. No, there's no more attachments. This is the actual cost for the estimate for the election. It says election on the 19th of November. So it's got by-election. Oh, the government by-election. Okay, sorry. If you look at this, it's incorrect. So we can say we don't pay it. There is a by-election cost of 141,000, and we still haven't received the election cost, which should have been a lot reduced from what the original estimate. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, well, we got to accept that we're going to get a bill, and this is only an estimate, and we haven't received the bill yet. I think we don't pay the 140,000. We wait to get the actual bill. From the way I read it, because it said under the background there, the Electoral Commission is still finalising costs for the election and the by-election. It is expected the cost of the election will reduce from the original estimate of 142,000 reported to Council in February 23. So we're just doing a bookkeeping thing here, and in noting that the staff has made an estimate, and we will wait for the Election Commission to send us a bill, and because it's when our acting GM said they were going to send a bill in March for the election, and this is the bill for the by-election, I thought, well, they're pulling figures from places unknown, because you would have thought they would have had the costs for the election that didn't go ahead. They'd be in writing, and they're still working out what the cost of the by-election is. So it will be interesting, and I hope that what we're told here is closer to the mark than what the bill will be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Would anyone else like to comment? I'd just like to say this bill is an estimate based on council election being fully contested, which it was. So this was what they envisaged an election would cost. Now it'll be interesting to see what the non-election did cost. So you would think that this would be reflected in our budget, this particular estimate, but the other one won't be as high because they didn't have all the booths or the wages for the booths and all that sort of thing. So I expect that that'll be less, but at the same token, whatever we get, it's going to be above our budget. So anybody else wish to speak on that? Councillor Fagan, you like to write a reply?
Just to say that this is the local government. New South Wales Electric Commission has us over a barrel. We have no way of knowing how much it cost and how much was going to cost, and they just invoice us for whatever they think is fair at the time. And we don't have an alternative person or organisation to run the election, so it is quite annoying that we don't have anybody to contest to actually anyone else to go to. So it's annoying, but anyway, we're stuck with it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Fagan. I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. 5.2, 2025 meeting dates. Councillor Watt.
I'd like to move it with a change to have the meeting date. Sorry, I'd like to change the motion to have it read 5:30 p.m. for the council meeting dates.
Do I have a second of Councillor Watt's motion?
The meeting time to 5:30.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Councillor Fagan will second that. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've spoken about this a few times as councillors. My ideal view of council is that we can welcome our community into the chambers and that we can welcome more working people to be sitting councillors. And having a meeting at 5 o'clock makes that very difficult. I myself am lucky to work in my own business and can be flexible with my time, but it comes with a cost in how you're spending time with your business and people in your business. I know many people have said they wouldn't be able to participate in council because they wouldn't be able to get here by 5 o'clock. And we're very lucky to have more working people on this council now. And I think it would make it much more feasible and much less stressful if we were to move it to 5:30. We also often have extraordinary general meetings before this meeting, which are at 4 o'clock. And most of the time when we have an extraordinary general meeting, it's of the things that are of most interest to our community, but they're held at a time when our community are very unlikely to be able to attend. In conversation a couple of months ago with the general manager, we propose that 5:30 would be a good idea as a happy medium. Obviously for the staff, it would be much more ideal if we had the meeting at 4:30 when the council closes. And for our community, it'd probably be more useful to have it at 6, so we could have any extraordinary general meetings at 5. But I think if we meet in the middle and have it at 5:30, that will reduce the impact and hopefully give everyone the best outcome in a compromise. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Fagan.
I just agree with Councillor Watt. I think 5 o'clock is ideal for some, but not ideal for working people. And I just think it gives us a more realistic way of getting time to get here. So unfortunately, the staff are going to have to suffer a half hour, but hopefully Councillor Watt will not speak as much when she gets here at 5:30. So I second her motion.
Anyone else like to comment? Councillor Wright.
Well, we noted with the library hours, things take a long time to change. It's been 5 o'clock for 16 years. I have suggested 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 a.m. I thought that'd be a better time because my Ritalin is still in the system and I'm making more sense. But, and it's supposed to do with the sun too. Everyone focuses a little bit better in the morning, but I've yet to get any agreement with that. If people are happy with 5:30, that's all right. It's not too bad when daylight saving's on about, but any time before 7 o'clock daylight saving is a bit of a nuisance to me, so I'll go with the majority this time. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to comment? Thank you, Councillor Speechley.
I would support this motion. As a new member of council who is in full-time employment, there is a level of anxiety around meetings and getting here on time and compromising between what your employer expects of you and what the community expects as well. A bit of a meat and a sandwich. So I definitely support this motion.
Thank you. Anybody else want to comment? I'll just say that bear in mind that if a staff member has to come and address us, they knock off at 4:30, 4:15, 4:45. So they would wait around for 3/4 of an hour to address us. Also, we have staff that live out of town, and I just think there's a lot to be considered here. But that's just food for thought. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure whether I'll get a seconder on this, but could we go midway then and propose that we start at 5:15?
That would be an amendment to the motion. Okay. Do you want to explain a bit more before I call for a seconder?
Yeah, I need a seconder just to,
You want a seconder?
to explain.
Do I have a seconder for 5:15? Yes, Councillor Cave, thank you. Okay, we have an amendment. Would you like to speak to the amendment, Councillor Kiss?
Look, to be honest, I'm a morning person, and as you know, I usually go to bed early. So, but look, I just think it's that compromise between staff needs and councillor needs as well. Happy for it to be defeated either way, but it just, we'll see what the rest of the chamber thinks about it. Thank you.
Okay, the amendment is for 5:15. Would anyone else like to comment on that? Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand where Councillor Kiss is coming from, and I grew up living out of town in Cowra and spent a lot of time driving in the dark after activities. However, the ideal situation really would be that we have it at 6 so that we can have our extraordinary general meetings at 5, which we regularly do. But 5:30 is already a compromise to that level so that we can have it a little bit later. If people need to come to extraordinary general meeting, you can kind of, leave work about half an hour earlier instead of an hour earlier to get here. And I do sympathise with our staff, but they do make the choice to work not in the community that they live. And I think, many of us have made that decision before, and it's up to us to make arrangements to that effect. I've had this conversation with staff before, and as I said, the idea of 5:30 is actually is a compromise position. And I think even if you were to get here at 5:15 in town, you're still going to be rushing if you're walking out of the door of your office at 5. And all of us who work know that there's always someone who needs something at the last minute, or the phone rings at the last minute. But what we really want is for people to be able to arrive in the chamber relaxed and ready to deal with it. So I'd encourage people to not support the 5:15 and support 5:30. Thank you.
Do I have anybody else wish to speak on this amendment? Councillor Wright?
I've got a question first. We've got ordinary council and general committee meetings here. The information meetings, you expect them to start at 5:30 too?
I would have thought that this motion and both the amendment would be for all meetings.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll speak against the amendment of 5:15. I think if you're going to change it, you want to give a bit of time for people that are committed to a 5 o'clock knock off to get here and be organised, get their mind in the right frame of mind to do what they got to do. It's difficult to say this, but yes, it is an impact on staff. And we do have 2 staff that do travel reasonable distance after work. But I think we need to appreciate the time that councillors give up to do this role. And if they're going to be able to do it in a better frame of mind at 5:30, I think we should do it. When I first got elected to council, we had a lunchtime meeting for a briefing, and one of the very previous directors of corporate services said you haven't changed your clothes to come to the meeting, and I was in what I thought were clean work clothes for the farm. But I said, no, I haven't. He says, oh, well, we generally like a better standard of dress. Well, that would have took me another hour to go home and get changed to the paddock and get in. And I said, did you go home and change your clothes for this meeting? He said, what do you mean? I said, you wearing the same clothes you wore to work? He said, yeah. So I said, well, I rest my case. You don't always judge a book by its cover. Now, I'm being a bit nasty and thing there, but there is quite a few functions council has that are during office hours, and you've got to break time. A lot of the 355 committees are during work hours, and but the ordinary committee and the general committee, and to a lesser extent the information committee, are where decisions made, and I think we need to allow councillors to have some input, a majority of input, into when they want that meeting to start. And I'll even get a little bit more harder. I think the senior management staff, they're on a salary and not employed to do the 37 hours precisely. And I think I commend the staff sitting at the front there now, because they've had to do a lot more work in the last 4 months, and their contract would have, their job description would have entailed, but they've done it for the media, for the good of the council, and for the good of councillors to have everything up to date and ready to operate. As I said, 7 o'clock would suit me fine, but 5:30 is a compromise on my behalf. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak on the amendment? Councillor Kiss. Okay, I'll put the amendment for 5:15. All those in favour? All those against? That's failed. We go back to the motion. We've debated the motion. Anybody else wish to speak on the motion? Councillor Downey.
As a councillor, when I first started and I was working for someone else, I had to change my hours to be more flexible and have worked around lots of meetings and things, and it would have been a lot easier if it was 5:30 in the afternoon. You still have the challenges of committee meetings and all sorts of things during work hours, but this is one, what I think is a very small change, which opens it up to lots more people being able to run for council. It doesn't rule people out because they don't have the time or they can't get here after work. And I think we need to aim to have as many people of the community being able to be represented as a councillor going forward. So I'm happy to support the 5:30.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak on the motion? Right, a reply, Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think a lot's been said already. I just wanted to support what Councillor Wright said about, how lucky we are to have such fantastic staff here who really do always go above and beyond. And I do feel sorry for putting this extra impost onto you of heading home a bit later. And we all know that time at home is important, but it's important to have these difficult conversations. And as Councillor Wright said, we do, as councillors, give up a lot of our time to take part in council. And these meetings are the most fundamental of our engagement in council, of the decisions we make around this table. And we want to make sure that everyone can be here and can be fully committed to that and engaged. I think it's also worth noting this is a decision we make every year, and it's a decision that council can make depending on the circumstances of the councillors in the room. I think in terms of longevity, it would be good to keep it at 5:30 to encourage more people to participate. but there's nothing stopping this council in a year deciding that 5:30 wasn't necessary, or deciding in the future council that it's not necessarily, as Councillor Wright says. We might get a group of people who are ready to go at 8 a.m. and they might all decide to change it to that, but hopefully not.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. This is for 5:30. All those in favour? Those against? Passed. Okay. Number 6, Director of Corporate Services, Section 355 Committee, draft minutes for the Cowra Youth Council, the appointment of the 2025 Cowra Youth Council members. Thank you, Councillor Watt. Seconder, to Councillor Horton, thank you. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Briefly, this is a motion to ask Council to accept the following fantastic group of young people to Youth Council. There are, as Councillor Horton will attest, they're a wonderful group of people who are already busy putting together plans for Youth Week, Festival of International Understanding, Anzac Day. They're even talking about helping out with the New Year's Day beach event. They are excited and ready to go for our community, and I really hope that everyone here supports it. I'd also like to note, sadly, that we're requesting an approve of absence for Emma Haslam so that she would be able to return to Youth Council after her time in SACE. She's the first SACE exchange child from St. Raps to be going to Japan, which is a really exciting opportunity, but she's been a fantastic addition to our group and will miss her sorely, but we're ready for her to join by Zoom anytime she wants to.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Horton.
Thank you. Yes, 100% behind Councillor Watt's sentiments there. Fantastic, energetic group of young people, especially when they're plied with soft drink and sweets and ice creams and what have you. No, they're a terrific group. As Councillor Watt said, a really energetic finish to 2024. Not the least of which the recruitment of 3, what I think are going to be 3 very good representatives onto the council, and yes, planning underway for lots of activities for 2025, which is fantastic. So, yeah, great group of people, and certainly recommend the acceptance of these nominees. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horton. Anybody else like to comment? I'll just comment. You often worry about the future of our youth. Then you look at these kids we've got in here and think the future's in good hands. So, yeah, they are a good group of kids and we need to do all we can for them. Right, a reply, Councillor Watt. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you, carried. 6.2, the Section 355 Committee draft minutes, the Cowra Sport and Rec Committee. Councillor Downing. Can I have a seconder for the Sport and Rec? Thank you, Councillor Horton. Councillor Downing.
We had an AGM recently, so that's what these minutes are about, and appointing some new members and some former members to our new committee. We had a great roll up for our AGM. The committee consists of an enthusiastic group of regulars and some new faces as well. I don't know if anyone has any questions, but just briefly, we discussed the precinct master plans for West Cowra and Recreation Ground and Mullian Park and Edgell Park, which council's budgeted for in our upcoming budget. So they were just happy for us to emphasise that community consultation and sporting consultation in the planning was important for them. We discussed the Families into Sport today, and it's really interesting that some of these new people actually came because of that day. They wanted to be involved in it, which is incredible, and we're planning another one for the start of the winter sports season, so planning's on the way for that one. Grant opportunities were discussed. Lee Wilson from Carrigan Cricket advised that their grant application was successful and the works have been completed on the cricket nets at River Park, which were unsafe when the kids were bowling and there were little athletics kids behind them. So that's been fixed, which is great. It was a little bit delayed because of the flooding. I think the person was supposed to come and check them on the day that they actually flooded. So it's been a little bit delayed, but it's done. And then just an update on part of it, We were actually very lucky to get a grant, $1.5 million, which the committee have been really supportive of, for the women's change facilities at Sid Callis or West Cowra Recreation Ground and Mullian Park, which is amazing because Cowra doesn't actually have any designated women's sporting facilities. Our grounds are all perfect and everything else. Our facilities not so much into the 21st century. So this is incredible. So a big shout out to Philippa Childs and Lawrence Ryan, who actually worked very, very hard and in a short time frame to get this grant up, and we've done it. So congratulations to them. And yeah, can't wait to see what they come up with.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Councillor Horton.
Thank you. Yes, did not cover myself in glory for the first meeting of the Sport and Rec Committee because I was late. But my excuse was that I was playing sport, so they seem to accept that. Good representation from a lot of different sports. People seem to be pulling in the same direction, which is fantastic. The learnings from the first Family into Sport Day are going to be well invested into the next Family into Sport Day. And there's a real connection around the table. I think they seem to all be working in this and pulling in the same direction, which is fantastic. And as I understand it, increased representation now onto the Sport and Rec Committee. Netball's been added, so there's extra representation there, which is fantastic. It's really good to see.
Thank you, Councillor Horton. Would anybody else thank Councillor Watt?
We haven't moved the meeting to 5:30 yet, so I'll keep talking. No, briefly, I just wanted to say every time we get the minutes from the Sport and Rec Committee, they've done something else amazing to build up in our community and get more people involved, and I just think they're doing a fantastic job, so congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Kiss.
Yes, just briefly, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to congratulate Councillor Downing and Councillor Horton, as well as the Sport and Rec Committee. And I'd also like to say congratulations to Mike McLeish and Chris Atiso for offering to take on, or at least accept nominations for the leadership roles of Chair and Deputy Chair. Look, the number increase is just astronomical. So they've obviously been out there promoting themselves and doing a fabulous job of it. So, yeah, well deserved. Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment? Councillor Wright.
Yeah, just a bit of background on Alec Bowling. He's a community representative with aquatic industry experience. What does that mean?
That means that he teaches swimming at the pool. In the short answer, he works at Cowra Pool. He's a new person to town. He's only been here probably 18 months. And he is interested, obviously, in the works at the pool, but he's very actively involved and very passionate about teaching children to swim. So he was asked to come along, and he has volunteered to be on the committee as well now. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Anybody else?
Could I just ask a question clarifying that? Would that mean that he's there representing himself rather than representing the aquatic centre?
Yes, he's put down as a community member. He's not representing the pool.
Thank you. Anybody else? Write a reply, Councillor Downing.
No, just to say that Krisha and Mark have been chairperson and deputy chairperson since it started. So I don't think they can get rid of their jobs now, but no, we're appreciated.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Thanks, carried. 6.3, the Section 355 Committee Draft Minutes, the Australian Day Committee. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton. Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this is simply to accept the draft minutes from the 2nd of November. I will give you a brief update though. We have had meetings since then. Well, we have at least had judging meetings and so forth. Look, I just simply wanted to congratulate the staff firstly for their gathering of information to make this Australia Day happen. There's an awful lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and they keep everything run so smoothly. I'd also like to thank the judges that take the time out of their day to come and judge all of the different nominations. And it's no easy feat. I sit in there and I'm just glad that I'm not the one having to make decisions. to be perfectly honest. And look, I think something that we often don't thank, some people don't thank, is actually the referees. You know, you look at what they put into the nominations, and if it wasn't for them actually acknowledging the work of our nominees, well, you know, it wouldn't get out there. So, you know, I would like to encourage in future years for more nominees to actually, more referees to stand up and nominate the incredible people that serve in our community, and thank them for what they have been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horton.
Thank you. Yes. So we got a good range of nominees. It took a little encouraging and wooing and appeasing and cajoling, but we got there. Same for engagement with the school literary competition, what have you. So the reason I mentioned that is because I think, you know, watch this space in future. I think there's some opportunities for us to revise and review what we do and how we do it in terms of how we engage and how we increase engagement in our Australia Day activities. What we will see this Australia Day is I think an increase in the use of media, so you know, videography and that kind of thing. I know we've had a bit in the past, but we're looking to increase that, which I think is a good thing. So yes, commend the minutes and looking forward to a successful event. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horton. Anybody else wish to comment? The only thing I'd like to, does anyone know exactly when we get our ambassador named?
The last minute, pretty much.
Oh, righto. Thank you. Okay, right of reply, Councillor Kiss. No, Councillor Wright. I've been waiting with bated breath, but I didn't think I got any. But anyway, anybody else like to make a comment on 6.3? If not, right of reply.
I would like to make a comment, and I congratulate the committee for pulling this together. It's in an awkward time of year as people do go on holidays. You've often either got to change your own holiday plans or come back early or leave later. And I congratulate that we're still going on with Australia Day, and that you have some thinking of some new ideas to stimulate the interest in it. I think the last few years we have had good interest. We filled the Civic Centre both days, and I had the pleasure of being breathalyzed on Australia Day last year, and the police doing the breathalyzation said, "Congratulations." I says, "What for?" He says, "For having Australia Day." And it's a contentious date, but I think we need to take a breath and reassess at what we are celebrating. There's things that mightn't have happened on that, but we do need to celebrate a day when Australia did begin its life, and celebrate the people that contributed to the life we have now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Anybody else like to comment? Right of reply, Councillor Kiss.
Not needed.
Not
thank you.
required. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Passed. Now, before we go to 6.4, I want to return to 5.2, the 2025 meeting dates. Councillor, what is your motion? Were you happy with the dates? We've got the time sorted out, but you'd like your motion to include that the dates be accepted? Okay, thank you. Happy with that? Do you want to vote? Okay. Yeah, the time wasn't in. Your motion set a time, but it didn't reflect the dates. Time. But and accept the dates. Now we want to talk about the dates. Yeah. So we'll have a separate motion. Would someone like to move that we accept the dates? Thank you, Councillor Watt. Seconder, we've all jumped forward. Councillor Downing, would you like to speak? No. Okay. Right a reply? No. Pass. All. Thank you. Right. Good. Right. Right. Thank you. Just a technicality. 6.4, the donation request from the Cowra High School Exchange Student Committee. Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
I'll second it.
Councillor Wright.
Oh.
Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a request for council donation of $5,660 to assist in the Cowra High School Exchange Committee for their 55th anniversary celebrations. Firstly, I'd like to actually congratulate the committee on their successful transitioning of the exchange program from Cowra High School to St Raphael's Catholic School. The decision to commit an additional $8,000 per year for them to try to raise that in some way or form and negotiate all of the new agreements would not have been an easy task. Shows the depth of the commitment that they have, or that we all have, to the relationship between Japan and Cowra. And I'm grateful for their effort because the exchange program plays such an integral part of the Japan-Cowra reconciliation story and the friendship that it can never be underestimated. I'd just like to note that although this is the 55th anniversary, it's actually in lieu of the 50th anniversary that wasn't able to be held due to the COVID restrictions. The celebration is a thank you to everyone involved in making the exchange program a success over the last 55 years. I understand it's not a small amount being requested from our budget. However, I believe that under the circumstances, it's not only reasonable, but the benefits are substantial. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Councillor Wright.
Thank you. Yes, no, I support this, and I would just note that with the president of the committee, Bob Griffiths, did acknowledge that it wasn't a small donation he was asking for. But this has become it's sort of a victim of your own success. This was started 55 years ago or 54 years ago, and I don't think anyone would have expected it to grow or to cement into the system of Cowra and Japan to be still happening. Not to saying that it shouldn't, but they've had people carry on, and I think the Seikei committee now would probably like some new blood to come on to help organise it. The biggest frustration that they have now in organising it is to handling the risk management and the compliance for child protection and having people staying at people's houses to alleviate any potential danger of that happening. It's not, once billeting was a normal course of events for schools, holding annual events, sporting or cultural, and that you'd just stay with someone's family in another town or whatever. But today it's become very strict, and the department become very strict. And I think that was one reason why the high school pulled out. They just couldn't manage the regulations, and I think St Raphael's have managed, but they had to go through it to jump a fair few hoops to do it. But this has continued on, and it's good to see it continue on. And for $102 per year for the 55 years, I don't think this is a very large donation to Cowra. And whenever we hold an event with the Japanese included, we always need to do a good job because they enjoy what we do here, and it builds a very good relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Anybody else like to comment? Okay, I will. It's become, when our contingent went over to Japan earlier this year, it became very, very obvious that Cowra is very, very important to the Australian-Japan relationship. And the unfortunate part of that, as Councillor Wright says, we are a victim of our own success to a degree, but it's the Cowra ratepayer shells out a lot of money to cement this relationship. And it's something I want to look into and see what we can do about it. But yes, I agree with both Councillor Kiss and Councillor Wright. it's a wonderful thing for both our children and the Japanese that came out. So, yeah, I commend it. Councillor Kiss, right a reply?
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, I think you touched on something quite significant there. This sort of relationship that we have, this friendship and this exchange, I believe should warrant some contribution by the federal government, if not at least state. But yeah, I think it's that significant, not only to Cowra but to Australia as a whole. You know, it's an incredible relationship that I think they value from us cementing. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. Carried. 6.5, release of closed decisions. Councillor Kiss and second Fagan. Thank you. Councillor Fagan. Councillor Kiss.
Just housekeeping. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just said it's just housekeeping.
Yes.
Yeah, an acknowledgement of the release of closed decisions.
Thank you. Councillor Fagan.
I just think I'd like to acknowledge the fact that it's been the tender for the replacement of the mains has been given to the a local firm, Chiverton Estate and Thompson Zerifab, which I think is excellent, and I'm sure they could do a great job because they've been doing so the last few years around town, and it's terrific to see a local company being awarded this tender.
Thank you, Councillor Fagan. Anybody else wish to comment? Right a reply, Councillor Kiss. Put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. 7.1, Cemeteries and Crematoria, New South Wales Internment Services Levy.
I'll move this.
Thank you, Councillor Fagan. Seconder, Councillor Kiss. Thank you. Councillor Fagan.
I'm only moving this because it makes me cross. It's a state government putting a levy on people who have died in our community, and I think we haven't had this levy before. It is a cost shifting, absolutely the most cost shifting thing that we've ever had. The state government is not improving anything. They're not giving us any more for this $156.63 charge. They're not giving us any extra of anything, and all they're giving us is more paperwork, and we're actually asking our residents to pay more money for their burial of their loved ones. So I'm very cross. I know that local government New South Wales and the other councillors are making a fuss about this, but it hasn't been held on deaf ears and been received on deaf ears at the moment, and I'm continually making a fuss because I think it's terrible that we should actually have to do this when there's no benefit for anybody except the cemetery and crematorium internment services. And as Councillor Downey very eloquently explained in the last meeting we had, this does not improve anything for us, and it actually only gives them more money to spend on whatever. We have no idea. So I'm really cross, and I'm happy to move this, although not happy to move it, although we have to move it to put it in our annual income and our 10-year long-term financial plan. I mean, we're obliged to move this.
Thank you, Councillor Fagan. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm seconding this motion with the same reluctance as Councillor Fagan. Look, I'd just like to reiterate that although we're charging our bereaved families this additional interment levy, it is not to council's benefit. The levy will be remitted directly to the cemeteries and crematoria in New South Wales. Thank you.
Councillor Cave.
I just think it's not right, and I think they need to look into it a bit more, and I think it's just a bit disgusting. So to let our people that get buried and not respect their the way they were on this earth, you know, we need to respect them a bit more.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Wright.
Question first. Will council be paying the people that have died previous to this date up the first 6 months, because it's the 24-25 period? So we won't be just charging the ones going forward, will we? Or will we have to pay money for the first 6 months?
Through the chair, I think it says somewhere in the reporting there that the fee is levied post the financial year. So after June 30, we will report to cemeteries and crematoria how many burials and ash interments there were, and then they will send us an invoice. As Councillor Fagan has pointed out, there's considerable action to lobby that doesn't occur, but at this stage we need to plan for that occurring.
I'd just like to speak against it, because we will be issuing an invoice somewhere for the people that have died retrospectively at the end of 12 months to get this money, or are we just going to pay it out of general revenue?
Through the chair, the intention of the resolution is that when people come to make arrangements for their funerals, either through the funeral director or directly with council, they'll be levied that fee, and council will remit that fee back to the New South Wales Crematoria, Cemeteries and Crematoria Association. Because, excuse me, because we haven't put the fee in our fees and charges for the first 6 months of the financial year, council will need to meet that cost.
Thank you. You answered my first question with the second question. Will we have to advertise these new charges for 28 days before we implement them, or already done that, have we?
That's what the intent of the report is. It's got the copies of the previous resolutions of council saying that we would advertise, and as a result of the advertising, there were no submissions.
And I presume on the invoice it will clearly state that this charge is for the imposed by the Cemeteries and Crematorium New South Wales Internment Service levy. It's nothing to do with Cowra Council.
Through the chair, the wording of the fee and charge is as per the recommendation, which clearly says what it's for.
Thank you. Now, I strongly reject this. It's the same as the fire service levy that we briefly spoke about. The initial report we read was to pay the expenses of the people that work for this this department, and if they want to get money from the people that's used the cemetery or the crematorium, they can send the invoice directly to them, because they'd be able to get all the information they require from the birth, deaths and whatever thing. So those people will have actually done something to get this levy. I totally object for us to collect money for another department's levy because they want to cost shift, and that's all that this is. And it's, as previous speakers said, it's not going to improve the service we get here, and it costs a fair bit more money than this to die. So this is just putting the icing on the cake that Big Brother's got its hand out for a little bit more after a beloved has passed away, and I think we should refuse to do this until we run out of breath with our local government in New South Wales fighting it, and our local members fighting it, and we just don't pay it, because they won't be able to get money out of the dead, and we won't be able to get money out of the dead. So it's a dead in the water levy.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Downing?
Yes, I agree with everyone around the room. As I've said before, this is ridiculous, and the whole cemeteries and crematoria in New South Wales is probably ridiculous as well. But it's only really designed for some Crown cemeteries, which aren't all in Sydney, not anywhere in local government areas. But I will note in the report that it says the interment services for destitute people won't have to pay this, which is paid by the health department, so they won't have to pay themselves. So that's always a bonus.
Thank you, councillor Downing. Anybody else? Councillor Watt?
Could I just request that we get an estimate of the funds we would be required to pay on, like as council, and that be circulated to councillors? As in what the past 6 months or to the date that we start charging, what that would be as a negative to our bottom line.
Have you got that?
He doesn't take on notice
Jack,
yet.
you got that? Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Wright?
If the destitute haven't got to pay, and Cowra's a low socio-economic community, therefore we don't have to pay any levies at all. Would that be right?
Well, no, if the rich people still die when they're not destitute, we're going to pay for them.
Well, defined rich. I'll go on to the next question. Every action requires an equally opposite reaction. So if people don't listen to me and my wisdom and they decide to adopt this, I'll be moving I'll foreshadow a supplementary motion that council will issue a bill for administration of this levy twice as much as what this levy is collecting.
Thank you, councillor Wright. Councillor Downing?
I was just going to explain the destitute funeral. From what I understand, if you are deemed destitute, you can have a funeral. It is generally a cremation because it's cheaper, and you have to have an interview with the police, and it comes out of the health department budget. So you have to have an interview and pass the test to be buried as a destitute person.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Well, when my father died, the stepmother and me had to have an interview with the police to prove that we didn't kill him.
Thank you, councillor Wright. Councillor Cave?
So that is called a pauper's funeral. So you give up your either family or you're not got any family. So that's what it's called.
Yep, thank you. I'd like to say that the government tells you they're worried about the cost of living. Obviously, they're not worried about the cost of dying. I'll write a reply, councillor Fagan.
Look, I just think Councillor Wright has a good point, but unfortunately, I think it's gone a bit far. I just want to ask: we didn't receive a letter back from Minister Camper, and we asked Steph Cook to look into that. We haven't received any further information from Local Government New South Wales and the other organisations that are fighting this levy. Have we got any more information about it, or was it discussed at any other meeting?
It was certainly discussed at the JO with the ministers.
And-
Bathurst are up for $450,000, you can imagine.
So what was the result of those discussions?
They seem to think that they didn't know what we're talking about. They honestly treated us like we were dilts.
You're talking about the ministers.
Yes. Yep. Well, because very quickly, we are running a bit late. Very quickly, if any of the churches or progress associations or old villages have cemeteries, if they cease to operate those, they become under the control of the council, and council has to maintain them and has to find the records of who's buried there. Now, places like Hill End and that are in the Bathurst district, they've got no idea. And I think there was something like 47 cemeteries in Bathurst that they would have to start looking after because the villages, the churches have gone, but the graves are still there. So they were up for a lot of money.
So this is why this levy's being imposed, is it, or what? How's that tie in with this levy?
Oh, well, it's the consequences of it's not just the levy. There's a lot of rules come in that it doesn't apply much to Cowra. I think we've only got one cemetery that we don't operate. We've only got a couple of villages, Mayoral and Woodstock, I think, are about the only ones in Goolagong, yeah. So, but Bathurst has got a myriad of little graveyards everywhere. And it wasn't the internment fee, it was the cost of complying. Yep. Okay. Councillor Fagan, have you had right a reply?
Yes, I did ask that question about whether we have heard anything from the minister. You said there was spoken about, but nobody's come back with anything that we're hoping that this will get thrown out. This is going to cost us. We have got some costings here. It's about $25,000 for this financial year, and another $25,000 for next financial year. If we don't change our long-term financial plan, that's a lot of money. So this is just adopting this in our budget, and changing our expectations. We can't do much else about it, but I think we should continue to approach the minister. Maybe we should write again and make sure that we make a fuss, because I think it's a terrible cost-shifting operation by the New South Wales government.
Thank you, Councillor Fagan. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you.
I'd like to move a supplementary, please.
Certainly.
I move that the council's managed team work out what it costs to administer this levy, and when we have to send the money in at the end of the year, we send them the bill for our administration cost, and the figures I've seen, I think it'd be double what we've got to collect. And I think it's that's the motion.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cave, thank you.
Thank you,
Councillor
Councillor
Wright.
Cave. Yeah. It's pretty simple. If they're going to shift costs onto us to collect money for them, and the people are going to look at the bill, and it's going to have Cowra council letterhead on this charge, and they think we're charging it, we need to, and we have to administer it, to collect it and send them one cheque back. We should charge for what the service they've asked us to do. It's nothing different to what they're doing to us. As I said earlier, they have all the information in front of them to send individual bills to each family that's lost a beloved person, and they can get the money back. This passing it on to councils is just passing the buck that the work they should be doing, they're not going to do. So I think it's time that we charge for the extra work we've got to do to comply with the levies from the state government. Thank you.
Councillor Cave.
Yeah, I second.
Yep.
Sorry, Councillor Wright.
Okay. You don't wish to speak on it?
Yeah, I believe that we maybe need to look into it a bit more, and then put it back onto them and give us a bit more information.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Wright, write a reply.
Nothing to reply to. It's pretty straightforward. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Aye. I think the nays have it, so the motion's lost. Okay. 7.2, committee minutes of the Traffic Committee. I'm happy to move those. Can I have a second? I thank you, Councillor Watt. Most of this was very straightforward. It was mainly traffic control for Australia Day, the festival, the street Christmas party down in Kendall Street. The only other thing that was on the thing was a couple of signs in Binney Creek Road outside the child mining centre there, and there's been no new signs put there, but one of the signs is incorrect and it will have to be reversed. So in theory, once you get past the childcare place, there's a sign that says no stopping pointing north, which means that every car parked along Binney Creek Road is can't be stopped. So we'll change that, but that's all it was. Councillor Watt.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, these minutes don't deal with the Christmas festival. The third item there is for the Cargo to Grenfell fundraising walk. As always, the Traffic Committee does a great job of dealing with these somewhat straightforward, but they're really not in terms of what the team then goes and does to enable us to shut down the highway to have these community events. So good work to all of the team in doing this important work.
There is a lot of paperwork, and the cargo to Grenfell Walk, they have to supply us with a myriad of paperwork, and they're in our shire for 300 metres. But we have to go through the motion of all the insurances, the whole thing. So, yeah, it's just part of the paperwork we have to do.
Can I just comment? We've mentioned this before, actually, and these recommendations. Could we have the actual event named, because it really makes it a lot easier if you know it doesn't just says special trust free special event club and those dates. If we could have the Australia Day, the festival, and the whatever it is, the walk, that would be really helpful. We've mentioned it before. It seems to be just missed out. If we could do that in the future, I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying in the future that would be handy. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take that on board. Anybody else, Councillor Downing?
I have a question about the Binney Creek Road.
Yep.
So that was what we discussed about the new signage that went in, or
There are no new signs there.
There are no new signs.
No.
Okay. Right.
The sign's wrong, but it's been there for years.
Right. Okay. So the day that apparently the signs went up and
No,
people couldn't park there, that's not a thing.
No, there are no new signs
Okay.
up there at all.
Cool.
They've all been there for a couple of years.
Righto. Thanks.
Yep. Anybody else on the Traffic Committee? Councillor Kiss?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just a question regarding the review of the speed zone in Noonbinner East Road. Is that to put it down or up, or
That's to be looked at by the RTA. There's certain criteria for that. Somebody has complained that people are speeding along Noonbinner East Road, and I don't know if you know the road. It's basically straight until it gets to Morongla Creek, where it ducks, weaves and goes down. And I don't really think anybody could speed down through there, but the RTA were going to have a look at it after the meeting. They have a criteria for lowering speeds. It's their job. Anybody else? I won't need to write a reply. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Passed. 8.1, development application 55/2024, Lot 1, DP 552213, 187 Elsie Vale Road. Electricity generating works, storage only, lodged by Distribution Energy Storage Project number 17. Yeah, and you will note in your pink folder is there were some comments made during the last few days about fire safety on the site, and you'll find there that our planning department's reply to those, and that will be inserted into the DA. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Wright. Thank you. That was Councillor Fagan. Thank you. Councillor Wright.
Yes, this is certainly a new type of development for Cowra, and it's raised, we found out one thing that we probably didn't really understand before this DA was approved, that Elsie Vale Road is just a travelling stock route. The road that we've maintained for 40 or 50 years wasn't really zoned a road, from what I can gather. And that's sort of confused a bit of the thing where council's got to take ownership of it off the Crown's land, so then they can allow the entrance off a gazetted road into this new development. And but there'll be no cost to council for doing that. It took a while to get my head around what he was doing. I had to do a bit more reading, and when he said it's a generating business but only going to store it, and they're going to take the power out of the main lines when there's too much in it, and when there's not enough in it, they'll feed it back in. And quite simple, as long as you spend $4.3 million. The only thing that worried me was the fire control issue. There's no mention of it in the report that there'd be any fire issue, admittedly the area is not deemed to be a bushfire hazard area, even though fires do burn on that land. But that comes from the RFS, where it's you work out the degree of difficulty of not the degree of difficulty, the degree of relevance to where wet fires start. And from RFS interviews, meetings, and that electrical infrastructure is one of the major causes of fire. Now we have got a main line going through there, and no doubt we've made and they're checked every year by the Transgrid or Essential Energy through helicopters and so forth. But I just thought when they're taking power off that line into their own private storage facility, there's another reason that we could cause a fire there. Something might happen. Batteries under this electricity storage thing don't seem to have a very good reputation, and I think this storage battery would be part of the new technology being released. And I hope it does work, and I hopefully that the developer won't be too peeved that he will have to make some adjustment for fire security there, because a battery fire would probably be different to a grass fire in what we can fight, what material we can use to fight that fire. RFS do have different wetting agents and fire suppressant material to put in the water, but I don't know if it would handle a battery fire. So with all that said, I think everything else is covered, and so we'll be getting one new storage system and one new road, which is a very good outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Right, Councillor Fagan.
Just to say, this is a very exciting development for our Shire. We have, this is the first time we've had this type of application. I'm interested to know if the director could tell me did we have to notify anyone that this was happening, like state government authorities, and in this situation? We haven't done this before, so.
Yes, we did.
And-
We reached out to Crown and the relevant government bodies, and the only submission we received back was from the Crown.
So the fire people, emergency services, did we have to? It's a bit of a strange one. I'm not saying.
No, we don't. We don't notify the emergency services.
Yeah, it may be something in the future that we should do, because obviously this is all a moving feast, and there are these types of activities which probably do need a fire certificates and fire plans and emergency services plans. And one of these things is, with a fire safety certificate, do we have our local emergency services, are they part of this fire safety certificate? Do they get instructions on how to manage this type of fire? Because, it is different.
Yeah, no, they don't. It is the responsibility of the applicant to engage their own independent fire safety consultant, and they are responsible for certifying that all the fire suppression measures that are on site actually comply with the Australian standards, and then they issue a certificate to state that they all comply, and then they have to be checked annually, and we then get annual certificates for those. The battery systems that are proposed to be installed on site have their own, the way they're being constructed, actually have their own suppression systems built into them, but we will be requiring additional measures as well.
Just as I'm sorry I'm having this conversation, but it's interesting. But also, I know that in some instances we make sure that they actually have notified the local fire and emergency services, so they actually have some training in how to put these fires in a way, because water and fire and electricity doesn't really work. That they have some training in this, so it might be worth. I'm not sure how that works, but maybe contacting our local emergency services to make sure that they're aware when it's finished that they know how to contain the fire if it becomes one, because it's a completely different thing to another fire. But I'm really pleased with this subdivision, this development, and really happy that we can actually have it in our shire. I'm really pleased that they're spending $4 million, which is an amazing amount of money for something that has no people. And I congratulate staff. And we've got and we have had nobody comment on it, so it's been on public, been out for public consultation. So it looks like everybody's very much behind it. So and it's got 22 conditions or 24 conditions now with the fire safety certificates on it as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fagan. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Watt.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly noting this in large part is coming to us because it exceeds staff delegations. As Councillor Fagan said, it's a very significant development at $4.73 million. It's also coming to us because there's an inconsistency between Council's 2012 LEP and the State Environment Planning Policy, and in that case, the state policy prevails. I also want to note that, as was raised here, there is landscape screening to reduce visual impact and additional driveways and crossovers put in place for access. So I will be supporting this DA.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Wright. Write a reply.
Yeah, there isn't a lot to reply to, but the beauty of this development is that it's taking excess power out of an existing transmission line, and it could be renewable electricity that's not being used, and they're going to store it, then offer it back to the grid, or the grid will take it back when they need it. And there's been a lot of talk in the last 10 days, some senior energy people from this federal government saying that up to 60% of household solar systems will need to be switched off because they're putting too much power into the grid. And I think the only reason they want them switched off is so the power companies can put their own power into the grid and get paid for it rather than the homeowners. So this is a very interesting concept, and I hope it does work. And I don't want the community to think that the only reason only concern I had with it was the fire safety. It was just that I want things covered if something does go wrong in the future, and hopefully we haven't got to use the fire safety thing, but other businesses have had to provide a fire safety, have large supply of water or a larger main to their premises to be able to operate. I just thought this should also have some safety in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I'll put the motion. Councillor Cave, this is a DA. Once we have a DA, it has to be show of hands. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Passed. I'm going to move a couple of things around now. I'm bringing notice of motions forward, and then we'll go into confidential. See, we've got 2 confidential matters. So has anybody got any urgent matters for motions without notice? Thank you.
Yeah, I think one quick motion is that I'd like to congratulate all council staff involved and the tourism people involved in the running of the street festival. I don't know what the numbers were. There's a lot of people there, and all the seating in Macquarie Street was quite well used for eating and so forth. And I just thought it went off well. Thank you. If we could acknowledge them, my motion is to acknowledge the staff and the tourism people that were involved in the running of the Friday night market. Thank you.
Right. Because it's a late notice of motion, we first need a motion that we will accept that as business for tonight. So could someone move that? Thank you, Councillor Fagan. Seconder for that, Councillor Downing. Councillor Fagan.
Yes, that we recognise them for running the Cowra Christmas Street Festival, and we write to them and congratulate them accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Downing? Okay. Councillor Fagan, right of reply, not required. Put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Thank you. Now, the motion is, Councillor Wright, that we write to all the staff involved. Have we got that motion down?
We thank the council staff that were involved with the running of the festival, and also the tourism board members for putting it together, and any other community members that they drew in to help.
Can I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Councillor Wright, do you want to speak to that again?
I think it's all been said. I think it's been run and won. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Kiss?
May I just suggest the wording, we have a festival committee, don't we? It's called a festival,
Christmas
not a
festival.
Christmas festival committee?
Yeah.
There isn't? Oh, all right, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Wright, right reply. No. Anybody else want to speak on it? Councillor Watt?
Thank you. I would have loved to second that motion, but it was a bit strange to thank our own board. Thank you, everyone, for bringing that up. It was a really fantastic event. We had a slight reduction in attendance than the previous year, but still had really great, what's the word? People spent a lot of money in the main street, and they spent a lot of money with the members, and it was a really fantastic energy in the room. I think we learn a lot each year from how we do things, and this year was very smooth in the way it was set up, and the Cowra tourism staff and board all throw in and volunteer lots of extra hours to make the festival happen, and I think it was a really fantastic event. I think I'd also like to thank all of the businesses around town that donated to the Christmas cracker, as well as Cowra Council for the donation of $5,000 for the Cowra cash cards. We had over $10,000 worth of donations for that Christmas cracker, which meant we actually had to declare it as an official lotto event because there were so many donations, which is an awesome thing that our community was so keen to get behind. And it's always a great way to kick off the Christmas period. And thank you very much. And I wholeheartedly back that. The council staff do a great job in coming together and making the street look beautiful, as well as cleaning it up extremely quickly before the end of the night. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Wright, right of reply.
Yeah, it's the tourism, they organise it. They might have a little committee, but there's a lot of council staff that they involve in the actual running of it, and it's all after hours, and they do it with a smile. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Passed. Thank you very much. Any other notice of motions? Okay. I'll take a motion now to close the meeting to the public to consider the following confidential reports. 1, the confidential General Committee recommendations from Monday the 9th of December 2024 and the confidential Director of Infrastructure and Operations request for tender 62024 full service heavy patching 2025-2026. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A2/D1 of the Local Government Act. The Council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would, on balance, be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it. And 2, the Cowra Community Service Medal. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A/2A of the Local Government Act, and the Council is satisfied that the discussion of this matter in an open meeting would, on balance, be contrary to public interest as it deals with personal matters concerning particular individuals other than councillors. Can I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Fagan, thank you. All those in favour? We're passed. We'll go into confidential now. We turn off the cameras.